that all of you do this with me. What did that say, Mariah? We're recording this.
It's still recording.
Okay. So, I am, in your name, I am Dawn. Oh. And thank you all for coming, and thank you, my supporters, for coming and helping me hold space for this ceremony. So today, the summer solstice is working with the archetype of the healer, and it's very, very powerful time with all that's going on with COVID, and the fact that this virus has come into our lives and made certain people very sick and shut down our whole economy. This is a very potent time for us to look at our hearts and healing on all different levels, emotionally, spiritually, physically, and spiritually. There's so much that needs to be done in the world today. It's a time, when I think about it, of deep self-care, that we really connect with our hearts and really pay attention to what is meaningful in our lives and what kind of choices we're making right now. One of the signs of poor self-care is if we feel hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. Hungry, lonely, angry, or tired are all signs of poor self-care. So the archetype of the healer talks about the arms of love, and the arms of love are acknowledgement. So I want to ask each of us to acknowledge right now, with the arms of love, an appreciation for ourselves. What kind of things, what kind of skills and things do we have that we're using right now in our lives? Oh, let's see, what kind of skills can I acknowledge? Well, I've been going to work as an essential worker, and I've been present with my patients, and I've been trying to be present with myself. Acknowledgement of character, being calm in difficult situations. I can't say I always do that, but it's a good reminder. Appearance, when people give us acknowledgement for our appearance, it is like an arm of love, and so it's good in these times to pay attention to our appearance and the appearance of other people, so that we can stay strong for ourselves and for each other. The impact we make on others. Acknowledgement of the impact that we have made on the people around us. I say doing this work and being steady and grounded and present for myself is the way I've mostly made impact on other people. And doing my best to help the people around me as the needs arise. Other arms of love are gratitude, so we can ask ourselves, what are 10 things that we're grateful for in our lives? It's a practice that I sometimes do, but I think we should all do every day, to say 10 things that we're grateful for every morning when we first wake up, and perhaps every night before we go to bed, to keep us in our hearts. I would say that I'm grateful for my health, especially in these difficult times. I am grateful for my job, that I still can go to work and receive a paycheck and stay connected with people. I'm grateful for my children and their health and their presence in my life. I'm grateful for my car. My car gets me everywhere and I love my car. I'm grateful in some ways for the lockdown because it's given me a lot more space to do more inner work and just have more time to myself. So I'm grateful in a way to not have so many things on my list of things to do. And I think that's 5, and I know that we all have 10, but I'm going to move on. Validation is one of the arms of love. How often do people validate us, and do we validate ourselves for all of the things that we do, every day? Recognition, similarly. Can we remember to recognize ourselves and those, especially that are around us in these difficult times, to say something to them and recognize them for what they've done, and to remember what it is that we have done for others. And then there's forgiveness. Arms of love is forgiveness. Oh, forgiveness is so important, not for the person who's being forgiven, but for our own health. It's very, very important practice to forgive those who have wronged us, so that we can not carry that around every day in the ways that we respond to things, but we can be more present when we've forgiven people. And then there's affection, hugs, and touch, which again, this time of COVID has asked us not to do those things very much at all, and I'm grateful that things are loosening up. I was able to go to Mahukona potluck last night. That's been in our community for 35 years, every Wednesday night, and people were there. Nobody was wearing masks, but people kept their distance. We didn't hug, but the people that I live with and that are close in my life, we've been hugging, and I'm very, very, very grateful for the hugs that I do receive and do give. So those are the arms of love. Really a nice idea to connect in with those at this time. And of course, because this isn't actually Sunday, I forgot to mention that that's on Sunday will be Father's Day, and we want to honor all the fathers, the energy of Father God, and all the Father energy that is in our lives on this day. It's Father's Day and the summer solstice. Every one of us had a father, whether that father was good to us or great to us or terrible to us. We have their DNA, and on some level, all fathers need to be acknowledged for what they have given us in this life. So with the arms of love, I want to say thank you to all the fathers on this planet, and in hopes that through the process of becoming a father, it helps all men connect to their Father and to Father God and all that is above, to give them strength to be connected to the love that's within them. Whew. So how are we caring for ourselves in these times? I would like to share, I'm a nurse, I go to work, I have to wear a mask for 12 hours. believing that masks are helpful for us. I do it because I need to keep my job. I wear masks when I go into a store or go to work, or go to the post office or the bank, and all the rest of the time I don't wear a mask. And a mask, I don't think it's really helping us. I think there's many things it's doing to harm us. It makes us rebreathe our own air, which can make us have too much carbon dioxide in our bodies and not enough oxygen, and so it can cause a stress response, increase our cortisol levels, make it hard for us to heal and breathe deeply. So I want to encourage, as a self-care thing, that yes, we follow the rules and we wear those masks when it is appropriate to wear them, when we're in stores and banks and post offices, but all the rest of the time when we're outside in the sunlight, that we breathe the fresh air and we don't wear the masks, and that we remember to take them off as soon as we're out of those places, as something that is self-care and self-love, because we really do need to be breathing deeply of the oxygen that's available and the wind that's here. Okay, speak a little louder. So I love to talk at this time of year about the addictions, because we have many addictive patterns in our lives, and all of those addictive patterns are covering up amazing resources that we have within ourselves, that are just waiting to be claimed. So the shadow side and the addiction of the healer is addiction to intensity, dramatization, exaggeration, sensationalizing, and it includes what we consider normally in society addictions, which is addiction to alcohol, drugs, and sex, and shopping and gambling. So that addiction comes from the low tolerance for just routines and boredom. So when we don't tolerate those things and we want to create drama in our lives, we do it through these substances and these behaviors. And really waiting to be claimed is our ability to give and receive love. So we can see that when the more we connect with our hearts and our ability to really deeply, truthfully, authentically give and receive love, the less we really need to do those addictive behaviors. And it is believed in many cultures that to change a habit or a behavior, we adopt new routines and new rituals and behaviors, and that we do those every single day for at least 6 to 8 weeks to fully bring that into our lives. And some of those habits could be things like every morning saying the 10 things you're grateful for and saying them again before you go to bed. Then we go to the warrior, and the addiction there is having a low tolerance for mistakes or vulnerability. And the belief is that when we're vulnerable, we're weak, but the truth is that when we're vulnerable, we are actually being authentic, and it is seen as a great strength. So there's great strength in being vulnerable and also being able to learn from our mistakes. So it's, instead of having to be perfect in everything, we strive for excellence, and we are okay whenever we make mistakes, because we know that we need to make mistakes so that we can learn and grow. So the shadow side again is having a low tolerance for mistakes, exposure, vulnerability, and having to have an image that we cultivate by hiding, rehearsing, and editing. So the good side of that is our ability to learn from our mistakes and to view our being vulnerable as a strength. And the next one is the addiction of the teacher in the West. And the resource is the ability to have discernment, clarity, objectivity, and trust. But instead, we have a low tolerance for surprises, unexpected events, and we're attached to outcome, which means that we're very much into control, and we have deep trust issues. We can become dogmatic, righteous, critical, arrogant, and judgmental. None of us have those problems, right? Oh, attached to outcome. Yeah. So when we find ourselves being controlling, not trusting, being attached to outcome, not liking surprises, being righteous and critical, we know that waiting is the ability that we have from that inner teacher, from that inner wisdom, to actually have clarity, discernment, objectivity, and trust. Trusting in the big picture of everything. Trusting. Most of the time I have that trust, but it has been a little more difficult lately, I'll have to say. And then the final one is the addiction of the visionary, is the addiction to focusing on what's not working. I think that's been my greatest challenge in this time, that I have had a tendency to be caught up in what others would consider conspiracy theory ideas, which I think are totally true, but focusing a lot on fear around Bill Gates' idea of bringing a vaccine and making it mandatory for everyone, from which I would probably have to quit my job over. So I feel like I've been focusing a lot on what's not working and what the big brother powers that be want to have control and power over all the people on the planet as they get richer and everyone else gets more poor. I've been fixating on that rather than seeing the really big picture. So I'm really grateful to be doing this ceremony so that I can be reminded that I've been magnifying those negative experiences, blowing them out of proportion, and seeing life from a fixed perspective. I'm seeing only a part of the whole that's happening right now, and that puts me into a place where I don't have the ability to trust my intuition or recognize my own blind spots. So as I step into not having this addiction, which is focusing all my energy on what's not working and on the negative, I can then see the blessings, the gifts, the talents, and all the resources available to me. And as I connect with my intuition and my ability to deeply trust and be connected to my wisdom, from that place I can see the perfection in everything, that we are right exactly where we need to be at this time, and that all the things that are happening in the world right now are the manifestation of the unsustainable system that we have on the planet crumbling and falling apart, and it just happens to look this way. This is how it's falling apart. And so I choose to see the perfection in that, and see that I can see this bigger picture and see the vision of what I see as a possibility, and what maybe all of us see as the possibility of a peace on earth and a planet where there is cooperation from everyone, rather than all this power over and power and control. that this is really just a manifestation again of just the crumbling apart of a non-sustainable, unhealthy power over and domination, fascism basically, on a world scale. So it doesn't have to go that way. There's all the possibility in the world for it to move fully into a world of peace and cooperation and love. And it takes all of us believing that, envisioning that, and where we're guided to doing social activism as we feel moved to moving everything on the planet in that direction. And if we don't have the passion for that, it's all just about total self-care and how can we take care of ourselves in this difficult time, a time that we've never been faced with before. So self-care. So what are the blocks and the obstacles that get in the way of giving and receiving love? Giving and receiving love to ourselves and those close to us. Healing involves the principle of reciprocity, the ability to give and receive equally. Reciprocity, I feel like I tend to be more comfortable with giving than receiving, and I know that I need to work on receiving more gracefully. And there's a beautiful poem that's in Angela Sarian's book that I love, especially because I'm a beekeeper, by a man named Antonio Machado. And he says, "Last night as I was sleeping, I dreamt, oh marvelous error, that I had a beehive here inside my heart, and the golden honeybees were making white combs and sweet honey from my old failures." Isn't that beautiful? I love that. Oh, so let's see, what's the time here?
We're at 55.
Yeah, I have it actually here. So, let me see. So getting in touch with that healer archetype, there are several things that we can do. There's something called the 4 healing salves. And it is believed that when we stop, times of singing, dancing, silence, and storytelling, we experience soul loss. And so just a reminder that these are our healing salves. And are we dancing? Are we singing? Are we telling stories? And are we taking time for silence? And because this is the time of the healer, it's about storytelling. And so it reminds us to look at the stories that we tell about ourselves, our life story. And, maybe revisioning the stories that we tell. Maybe reframing the ways that we look at our lives. And so just as a question that we can ask ourselves is, what stories do we tell, and whose stories do we love, and what stories really have inspired us? And in telling one story, we honor how we've come to be who we are. Another aspect that connects us with the healer is called cradling work. And it's recommended that we lie down and we put our right hand on our heart and our left hand on top of that. And we take about 10 minutes of lying down and we ask ourselves these questions. First of all, we acknowledge our strengths. Maybe we can just do that now. I want to invite you to lie down and take the posture that is most known for healing and receiving love and nurturing. And with our right hand on our heart and our left hand on top of it, take a few moments to acknowledge your strengths. What is it that you like about yourself? What are your strengths? And what are the contributions that you are making and have made? And currently, what is the love that I am giving and receiving? How is it that I'm showing love to myself and others? And I'm just going to invite you to stay laying down, and I'll continue to talk, and we'll move right into our journey. So a drum journey is the healer's way of listening to the heart. The drum is thought of as the mankind's imitation of the heartbeat. And it's a way of attending to our life story. It's a shamanic practice that's used to access information and guidance from the divine, from the sacred, and from our higher self that is not readily available in our ordinary reality. And just the position of laying down is the meditation posture of the healer. It is the most healing posture and that the body can assume, the main one that we do use for receiving healing. The body does equate lying down with rest and nourishment that does come from giving and receiving love. It is also a posture of openness and surrender. And the heart is the bridge between Father Sky and Mother Earth. And we can take a moment to check in here at this time with our four-chambered heart, which is the source for sustaining our emotional and spiritual health. Is our heart open, full, clear, and strong? When we are not full-hearted, we could be considered half-hearted, and it's time when we feel like we should be doing something that we don't necessarily want to do. And the action needed at times when we are feeling half-hearted is to remove ourselves from those situations. When we are open-hearted, we are open-hearted. But when we're closed-hearted, we can feel defensive, encountering our own resistance and protecting ourselves from the possibility of hurt. The action needed then would be to soften and reopen our heart. And when we are not being clear-hearted, we are having a confused and doubting heart. We may feel ambivalent and indifferent. In this case, the action needed is to not take action, but rather wait for clarity, taking no action and waiting. And looking at when we are not being strong-hearted, we indeed would have a weak heart. We feel lack of courage to be all of who we are in our lives. We lack courage, the ability to stand by oneself, one's heart, and one's core. The action needed is to make a shift and stand by one's heart, core, and authenticity, and our truth. So I'm just going to a little lightly go over the 8 universal healing principles, because then after that we're going to do our journey and we're going to connect with a number that is going to tell us which of these 8 principles of healing and practices and lifestyle choices we need to focus on most during this coming season. And those are, number 1, exercise. This means regular exercise, either daily and or weekly, both external, which is physical exercise, including dancing and martial arts, and internally exercise, which is rites of passage. Number 2, having a balanced diet. Excuse me. Which is maintaining a balance between healing and toxicity in food, thoughts, feelings, and beliefs. Number 3, humor, play, and fun. How much joy and laughter do I have in my life? What music do I listen to? Is the music healing? What is the quality of silence? What chants do I have? Are they negative or positive? So again, number 4. What was I saying? I'm going to back up here. Humor, play, and fun was number 3. How much joy and laughter do I have in my life? What is the quality of humor I express and like and am drawn to? Number 4, sound, music, and chanting. Number 5, love, touch, family, and support systems. What is the quality of love in my life? How do I choose to love? And how do people who love me treat me? Who do I feel loved by? What is the quality of touch in my life, and how and by whom am I touched? Number 6, creativity. Am I engaged in interests and hobbies? What are they? Are my contributions from the heart? What holds heart and meaning for me? Number 7, nature, beauty, and healing environments. We're looking at both internal and external environments. Where do I choose to live? What connection do I have with the healing nature of Mother Earth? How do I love myself? How is my self-esteem, self-trust, and self-respect? Number 8, the presence of faith, spiritual practice, and belief in the supernatural. What is the nature of my connection with spirit? What are my prayers? How do I feel in solitude and silence? How do I allow for them in my life? So I'm going to list them again. Exercise, a balanced diet, humor, play, and fun, sound, music, and chanting, love, touch, and support systems, creativity, nature, beauty, and healing environments, and the presence of faith and a spiritual practice. So these are the